Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our week-ending edition of The Closing Argument. Today is the 22nd of August, 2025. The month is gone. TGIF, thank God today is Friday. For some of you, the weekend is about to kick off. For some, it started early yesterday. But for us, today is the official end of the week. And we are going to go through the headlines and then we are going to do the weekend review. Some of the stories that captivated our nation and your attention from Monday through Friday. We are going to go through some of them. Since today is Friday, I am wearing my official Fuller shirt that was given to me when I was officially made an honorary Fuller man. So today my name is Alhaji Jerome Gayman. That was the name that was given to me. I am Jerome Gayman. So if you're going to address me today, you got to address me at Alhaji Jerome B-A-H, Gayman. I'm a Fuller man. Yes, so let's celebrate our culture, our heritage, our people, our oneness. But this week we talked about convenient lies. And one of the lies we talked about is, why don't we tell the truth at the funeral of a criminal? Why don't we just go and say this man was a murderer, he was a rapist? Instead, we say all the good things. The folks say, speak no evil of a dead person. And then we talked about going to the hospital or visiting a family that just had a baby. And you know the baby is ugly or not too pleasant to the eyes. But yeah, you tell the mother, oh, the baby is so beautiful. Brand new, bouncing baby boy, good looking, mama and daddy and mommy, everybody doing well. So those of you who are religious, does the good book tell you to lie? Is it true? So we're going to delve into that a little bit. And then finally, we all fall prey to this belief, it's a myth, that the generation before us are worse. And they will tell you, oh, during our time, things was better. Things were good our time. The children these days have no respect. The children these days do things differently. During our time, it was better. They would never have done that. For real? Really? Are we better than the previous generation or generations? Can you look me in the eye and tell me that your generation is better than your children's? Is it really true that the children now are worse than we were when we were growing up? Can you be honest for once and go back in your life and see what you were doing when you were in middle school or even elementary school? Can you go back and tell me when you were in 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, that you were as pious as you are claiming to be? I know most of us were mischievous, sitting out here and lying to ourselves that we were better than our children. You had no internet, you had no telephone. You had no television for those who were privy to have television in Liberia. You had one channel and it went off about 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, and you start playing the Liberian national anthem, and it's done, black and white. The only distraction you have may have been maybe going to basketball game or kickball game, going to the movies on Sundays after church. Those were all you had to do. And still, you had nothing to do. And still, you were mischievous. Compare that to today, where the children at your house, the television you have has sometimes 200, 300 channels. The kids got cell phone. They have access to Facebook, the internet of all kinds. You talk about Instagram, you talk about TikTok, you name it. And yet and still, they manage to go to school, get their degrees, go to work, stay out of trouble. And you want to compare that your one channel that you had in Liberia, you had no distraction, none whatsoever. And you want to compare it to the millions of distractions these young folks got now, and yet and still, they are forging ahead and they are doing great things. But when we sit in our living room after we eat our cassava leaf or when I swallow our domoy, we sit back and gossip about our children and say, these children these days, they're so disrespectful. They're not like we were when we were growing up, and we didn't do this. You want to be really, really frank with yourselves. When you were in middle school, 7th, 8th, 9th grade, some of you girls were encouraging boys to jump through the windows when your parents were not home. And some of you CEOs now, ministers and directors, you know what you did when you were a young man. So how dare you come out here and lie to people and say your generation, your childhood were better than the children now who are growing up. Are you kidding me? So when the guys come on, we will discuss that. Were you that pious in Torgbean High School or B.W. Harris or ACS, Tubman High, G.W. Gibson, Well Heston, Charlotte Talbot, E. Regina Goodrich, Vassar High School, Christian High School, Buffet High School, Sino High School, Kipamas High School, Bishop Ferguson, Our Lady of Fatima. You tell me during your days in school, you were as clean as a whistle. So we're going to look at those two issues this week. Does your good book tell you to lie? Or is it acceptable to look at a baby? You know this baby really doesn't look good, but you say the baby is so, you are so pretty. You are so beautiful. And then when that person dies, that have terrorized your community for a long time, he dies and you go to his funeral and it said, if you want to say something to the bereaved or to the family, you got 2 minutes or 3 minutes to come out and pay your tribute. You go out there knowing this guy had robbed you, picked your pocket, broke into your house. He may have even taken your girlfriend from you. And you go and stand up there with your dry face, saying all the good things that he never did. Some of you quoting scriptures Some of you quoting some of the greatest philosophers around. Shakespeare, Aristotle. You're talking about Plato. They're quoting, knowing very well that this man was not a citizen and not a good one. So does our good book tell us to conveniently lie, say things that are not true because our society depends on us and they require that we do these things? Are you really better off than your children did? What advantages did you have that they didn't have or they don't have? We look at the pros and the cons. We begin today with the Liberian Investigator. On the front page of the Liberian Investigator, it says, Liberia's MCC bid still in limbo as the U.S. both backs Fiji and Tonga. Liberia's hope for securing the second Millennium Challenge Corporation MCC compact remain clouded with uncertainty after the U.S. aid agency's board of directors met this week, but confirmed new partnership with Fiji and the nation of Tonga, but made no mention of Liberia or Monrovia. The MCC board of directors, chaired by the U.S. Department Secretary of State Christopher Lendu, met on August 21st, which was yesterday, to select new country partners and review foreign aid priorities under the Trump administration America First agenda. In a statement, the board announced Fiji had been chosen for a full compact and Tonga for a threshold program, citing the two Pacific nations' reform commitment and strategic importance. But conspicuously absent from the agenda and the release was any reference to Liberia, despite months of speculation in Monrovia that the country was on the verge of regaining eligibility for a second MCC compact. This is the Liberian Investigator, and this one is written by the chief himself, Leonard Dudu. So you know when he puts his pen on it, it's like when Rodney Sear takes his time to write an article, you know he has done his homework. So let's go to Front Page Africa, the front pages of Front Page Africa. The Front Page of Africa, Front Page Africa has this to say: police to enforce court-ordered eviction of the CDC headquarters Saturday. That's tomorrow. I know the Supreme Court had ruled 2-3 days ago, but Gregory Kromah is saying he will enforce the lower court's decision. It reads, the Liberian National Police have announced plans to enforce the 6th Judicial Circuit Court's order to evict the Congress for Democratic Change, CDC, from its national headquarters in Congo Town on Saturday, the 23rd of August 2025. The announcement was made in a video addressed by Inspector General Gregory Kromah, who stressed the LNP's neutrality and commitment to the rule of law. At this critical juncture, he said, movement in our nation's democratic journey, the Liberian National Police reaffirmed its neutrality and commitment to upholding the rule of law. Kromah said. He explained that the court's rate of possession mandated the eviction of the CDC and tasked the police with assisting in its execution. This planned action is not political. Kromah said our role is constitutional to preserve peace, protect lives, and ensure that the decisions of our courts are carried out without fear or favor. Kromah called on the CDC to demonstrate leadership and respect the authority of the court We call on the CDC as one of Liberia's leading political institutions to show statesmanship by respecting the authority of the courts. Compliance with the law is not weakness but strength. He also urged partisans and supporters to remain peaceful, warning against political tension that could undermine Liberia's fragile peace. That is Gregory Kromah says tomorrow, Saturday, he will begin to enforce the lower court's ruling to evict the CDC. That is Mr. Gregory Kromah. This week, we have been profiling, exposing the corruption in the court system in Liberia, as evidenced by what transpired in Riverside County when the investigative journalists found corruption in the court system, where police officers were caught transporting drugs. He was arrested and then released. When the journalist brought it up and accused the magistrate that did this, he charged them with contempt and disrespect of his court and ordered to be imprisoned. And the Press Union of Liberia and the closing argument took on this, discussed it extensively, and finally we got this morning. It said the court drafted contempt charges against journalists after Press Union of Liberia pushed back. The Yakbatown Magisterial Court in Riverside County had dropped criminal contempt charges against 2 Liberian journalists in what the press advocates are describing as a milestone victory for press freedom in the country. Thank you. For some reason, our studio keep going in and out. No sound. Hopefully you can hear me now. We talked about political offices around the country being closed after elections. In the midst of that, there's an op-ed here from one of the old hands in Liberian politics. It says that resuscitate the True Party. Resuscitate the True Party building. Fahad urges government. David Fahad, those of you who don't know who David Fahad is, he's an old politician, been in the business for a while. Former Finance Minister David N. Fahad called on the government of Liberia to reclaim and renovate the historic E.J. Roy building on Ashmore Street in Monrovia, arguing that it should be transformed into a public asset to generate revenue and reduce government spending on rent. In an interview with the Liberian Investigator on Tuesday, Fahad insisted the building long associated with the once dominant True Party was constructed with taxpayers' money and not remain under the control of any single political party or group. David Fahad proposed that the government restore the property and convert it into offices for state institutions. By doing so, he argued, the government could save millions of dollars currently spent annually on renting private buildings for ministers, ministries, and agencies. He further suggested that if fully occupied by government offices, the renovated building could be leased to private institutions with the proceeds directly going towards national priorities such as rehabilitation for at-risk youth, commonly known as ZOGO, and strengthening the education sector. The proceeds from renting the building could be used to rehabilitate disadvantaged young people into society, he says. Linked to education and reconciliation, the former minister stressed that greater investment in education is the key to sustaining peace and reconciliation in the Republic of Liberia. Peace and reconciliation will only be durable if citizens are well educated. David Fahad said. Fahad argued that renovating the E.J. Roy building and redirecting rental savings into the education sector could provide long-term benefits than the Liberian people will realize. That's David Fahad, former finance minister in our republic. Liberia validates findings of comprehensive gender discriminatory law awareness. This is a big one. The Liberia's comprehensive legal assessment examined constitutional, statutory, and customary law through a gender lens, identifying provisions that directly or indirectly discriminate against women and girls. It also measures laws against Liberia's commitment on an international and regional framework, including the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW, the Maputo Protocol, and the Beijing Platform for Action. The process was nationally led with consultation held in Monrovia and Grand Cape Mount, Bong, Grand Jita counties, respectively. Over 30 institutions participated, including the government line ministries, the National Legislature, the Liberian National Bar Association, the Association of Female Lawyers of Liberia, civil society organizations, academia, as well as traditional leaders. Honorable Curtis V. Dolly, Deputy Minister for Research, Policy, and Planning, addressed the gathering. Despite our achievement, legal gaps and discriminatory provision remain in both statutory and customary laws, thus preventing women, girls from realizing their full rights. We must work together to ensure that the principles of equality and non-discrimination is reflected in our laws. Consider Francis T. Kambuya of the law firm Commission emphasized. This has been a valuable exercise. Drafting laws should not be confined to desk review only. It may be an open, consultative process that incorporates diverse perspectives and reflect the realities of the people it serves. The Liberia National Bar Association President, Councilor Bono and Vama, commended the work undertaken, noting that the association remains committed to supporting implementation. Engagement with legislature will be crucial as they hold a mandate to enact the necessary reforms. We will continue working closely with the ministry, legislature, and partners to ensure these recommendations are translated into law that protect and promote girls, the rights of all Liberians. This is from the Liberian Daily Observer. Why should the government wait for someone to tell them that discriminating against our girls, our wives, our mothers, and our children is illegal, immoral, and wrong? Why should someone tell you that? I just heard the police chief said there's no one above the law. The law applies to everyone. If the Republic of Liberia says the law applies to everyone, why should someone come into Liberia to have an assessment of how we treat our citizens? Not just our citizens, but majority of our citizens, because the women are in the majority here. Why are we relying on customary laws or hiding behind customary laws to do harm to our women, to our wives, to our daughters? Some of you are into domestic violence. You beat your wives and you lie on your custom and your tradition. Some of you even go as far as the religious books and want to divine your illegality, your immoral act, your uncivilized behavior. That some deity sitting somewhere told you that you have absolute right over women. You can beat them, you can destroy them because your good book says so. And some of you coward men, after you have committed crime against girls, women, you will run into your zoo bushes or you run somewhere and say, we have customary law and the constitutional law has no power. That's how cowardice you are. On the positive side, we say Representative Benson, DJ Blue Benson, unveils a plan of $500,000 project to boost community infrastructure. Let's see what DJ Bernard Benson is saying here. August 22nd, according to the Liberia Investigator, Monrovia County District 17 Representative Bernard Benson Blue Jr. has announced plan to construct a $500,000 resource and recreation complex aimed at expanding social infrastructure in his district. The proposed complex will include an e-library, football field, basketball court, playground, canteen, restrooms, dressing rooms, and a picnic area. Benson said the initiative will provide students with access to facilities that are often out of reach because of long travel distances. This initiative, he said, demonstrates a dedication to improving the community's welfare while encouraging involvement and collaboration among district residents. DJ Benson Blue, the complex will serve as a vital resource, offering both education and recreation support to people who currently face challenges in accessing such facilities. Benson stressed that the project is designed to foster community development and social cohesion. He said the investment will enhance the quality of life for the residents by creating opportunities for learning, recreation, and interaction. That's DJ Bernard Blue. If he grew up in the United States, lived in the Atlanta area, he should know better. So if he put premium on recreation for young folks, I think he's doing the right thing. DJ Bernard Blue, if this is true, that this is going to happen, it's a great undertaking. Recreation serves so many advantages. Where we have parks and recreation, crime is reduced. It is good for health, for the young folks, for the elderly, for the sick. Where there is recreation, where there are parks and recreation, where the young folks are engaged and stay busy, it serves as a deterrent and it reduces crime. Let me welcome our folks at Care Radio 95.9 FM. Mr. Samson Masare, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Gayman. I've been following you at the backstage doing one or two work.
That's correct. That's what you do. You're the media man, you're the producer, you're in the studio. Your job is to produce and we carry it out. But we are going over some of the headlines in the papers. Talk to us on your daily beat, because you do the daily beat. What is it that should be talked about that is not being talked about in the paper? Because there are a lot of great news happening in the neighborhood that don't make the headlines. Tell us, what new can we hear? What's going on that we need to be talking about that we have not talked about all week or today?
So today, immediately after the former deputy TA boss appearance on a closing argument last night, I decided to take my microphone up there to the just victim to see and understand what actually they are going through. And Mr. Gayman, it will shock you to know that I interacted with an 18 years old person. This is a young man who got involved in drugs at age 15. He has spent up to 3 years now in it, and according to him, he had his friend that he normally used to go to his house and visit him after school, and his mom used to warn him about this friend, saying, "Oh, this person is not good for you. You have to stay away and stuff." And he did not listen. As the young man, while conducting that interview with him, the young man broke into tears, sharing tears that because of the habit, he cannot freely go around his family, that he's from a good home, and that actually broke me down. Fast forward, while we were at the ghetto getting views from the just victim, we also got an intel that the CDC headquarters and this might be invaded either tonight or early tomorrow morning. And in fact, the police RG had a press conference today saying that by tomorrow they will be implementing the code minute. And immediately after that, the CDC also hosted a press conference defying the police to come any step closer to their party headquarters. So tomorrow gonna be seems like it's gonna be a very busy day again between the police and citizens because the party chairman called on all citizens to assemble as early as 6 o'clock at their party headquarters tomorrow so that they can protect their party headquarters. Immediately after that press conference, the CDC chairman again wrote the quote with a 30,000 Liberian dollar appeal that the court should give them additional time to adjust and, and see how best they can relocate. So that's just some of the breaking news. And today, the students in I don't know what you talk about it. The students in PYJ University in Nima County, Canton City, also staged a major protest calling on the government of Liberia to reopen that university. That most of them, since the passing of the former senator, the late Senator Prince Johnson, that university has been shut down. That most of them at their senior level, and it's been long now. And they need to go back in school. And Representative Senator Samuel Kongwe Kokad had a conversation with them, and he made some promises that one of those promises were to bring forth their petition to the county authority, especially the county education officer, so that they can find remedy to that problem. And again, today, Chief Justice visited his hometown, Yamin Bwese. Chief Justice Yamin Bwese visited his hometown. And he was in San Equator today along with the superintendent, where he was hugely welcomed by his people. And he also appointed few ministerial court judges. So that's just the rundown for today.
Wow. So, the PYJ University, a major structure in Nimba County, is dying because the owner, the progenitor of that idea, Prince Y. Johnson, passed away, and his dream is dying with him. The folks from Nimba, they should be the pride of Nimba. A university of that magnitude. There is this great debate. People are saying there are two schools of thought on that particular university saga. It was built as a private institution, managed as a private institution, and folks are saying the government should not get involved because it's a private institution. Some say if the man wanted the government to get involved, he would build a university, turn it over to the state, and still we have to run it, and then he had no issue. Since he ran it privately, funded it privately, the government should not be involved. And in so doing, they are saying with the meager resources coming into Nimba, there are a lot of competing interests. There's no reason for us to take a huge sum of money to put it to a private institution at Johnson University, pay their staff, pay their overhead, and then leave other government agencies out. So this is where the fight is. Masari, what are the people saying on the ground? Where are they leaning? Are they agreeing with the government, with the other group that says, since it's a private property, just leave it with them? Or are they saying the government should get involved and save this great university?
So, Mr. Kemen, I think for what I learned, especially during the Myean, the by-election in Nima County, that brought Senator Samuel Koka to power as senator. There was conversation in Nima surrounding that entire university, And some of the conversation was the people of Nima County actually see that university as a PYG legacy. And even if it is a private institution, but I learned that government was also supporting it. There were budget allocation to have that university run when the late Senator Prince Johnson was alive. And I think that money, I will have to do a follow up on the current budget under the Ministry of Education. I think that money is still being given to the university. So that university was being subsidized with up to $50,000 annually. That's what I know. So if that money is still in the budget for the university to run, then in fact, why would the university be closed? If actually the university is a private institution, then it means the family of Senator Prince Johnson have to double up in seeing how best that university can be reopened so that the legacy cannot die. And again, uh, all of the politicians in Nima County who respected the former senator, Senator Prince Johnson, and said that he's the godfather, they see it as their godfather. I think it's about time they come out to and subsidize that university for it to be reopened. Because if you actually want to erase the legacy of Senator Prince Johnson, it means you have to shut down that university. But if you want to for his legacy to live on, like you campaign on, like Senator Samuel Coker campaign on, one of the campaign measures was Senator Prince Johnson legacy will not die. So the protesters today, the students reminded Senator Coker and said, we can remember when you came, when you were running your campaign, you said your main intent here is to maintain your cousin, Senator Johnson legacy. Here is his university being closed for almost a year plus, and nobody can come to our aid. So the current Vice President Jeremiah Kuhn also he also considers Senator Prince Johnson as a godfather. So if you consider Senator Johnson as a godfather, why are you allowing his legacy to die? And I don't think people in Nima County are happy with this situation, because if they are actually happy, Mr. Gayman, they won't come out today to protest. In fact, the protest lasted for almost 2-3 hours. They protested even the university, and they could not get redress. The students have to march from the university to go to the city hall in Sanikwele. From Cantor, they left from Cantor and went Sanikwele to protest. Even the city mayor compound demanding that the university be open. And Senator Coker went there telling some of the students, I was listening to him, telling some of the students, oh, your why your day was wrong. You cannot come and protest to the city mayor compound. The city mayor is not responsible for school to be open. And if you want the university to be open, you contact the district county officer, education officer, and I think that person is the best person. In La Promise, give me what I see during election time, most of the promises that people make are deceptive. Most of the promises, somebody will come and tell you, if we win, we'll do this. Immediately they win, the conversation change, and it becomes all about. And I hope President Joseph Boakai and Vice President Jeremiah Kuhn following this, because the people of Nima County actually voted massively overwhelmingly for the United Party government, not for Prince Johnson legacy to die. They voted because they wanted change in education, change in security, and opportunity for the people. So if you start to deprive their children of the only university that reside in their country, you will not be doing them justice, Mr. Gayman. You are muted.
We have the Liberian people usually say, which I disagree with, but their mantra has always been politics is interest.
Mm-hmm.
And Joseph Boakai said it. He made it clear during the campaign. He says, it's all about winning, even if it means you have to dance with the devil. It boils down to winning. You want to win. So you say anything and you do anything. I mean, because Koga wanted to win, you saw him jumping over Prince Johnson's body.
Sure.
You saw him doing things that that to the naked eye that made no sense. This man was dressed in regalia, things that made him look like he was a warrior. Koga was dressed. He had feathers coming from his hair, coming from everywhere. I don't know that was eagle feather or what kind of bird feather he had in his head, in his hat. He had all these regalia. He walking around.
That's a form of a warrior.
Aha.
Traditional warrior.
There you go. And he was jumping and hopping and yelling and screaming. And the folks said, this is our son. He will continue to fight. Prince Johnson was a warrior.
Mm-hmm.
Prince Johnson had passed on his spirit. If this man jump over this body and doesn't fall, the power from Johnson is supposed to translate divinely into Koga. So Koga jumped over his body, back and forth. And now he assumed the power, supposedly, of Prince Johnson. And he had the audacity to say he will accept the petition and he will present it on behalf of the people. Mm-hmm. This is a man who's supposed to be a warrior. Warrior don't talk like this. Warrior will say, I will do this. I will convene the president. I will convene the legislature to increase the budgetary allotment. If it were $50,000, I'm sorry, $50,000 is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That university may have maybe a budget of $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 to pay staff, maintain the school, facility maintenance, supplies, just supplies alone. And then we are talking about professors, a big university. Some of these professors make $30,000, $40,000, $20,000 a year. If you have about 25, 30 professors there at the university, $50,000 is nothing. I expected the warrior in Koga to say, I am taking this to the president or to the vice president. Now that we have the vice president, we have the Supreme Court Chief Justice, we have all our senators, our representatives, I'm going to make sure that we get our fair share of the money to come to Nima County, because it was Nima County that delivered the presidency to Joseph Yuma Boakai. For him to say, I accept your petition and I'm going to present it to me, it shows that the university is basically on life support, soon to die. Mm-hmm. And the Prince Johnson University may go down the route as the former political parties that have come and died after the leaders died.
The Chewy Party.
The Chewy Party.
PRP.
The PUP.
PRP political leader also passed up.
Yeah, when Mr. Cassell died, his party died with him. When Dole died, his party died with him. When Charles Taylor basically given life sentence, his party is on life support. So this is what we are talking about. Prince Johnson, with his students, abandoned out of school. Some were seniors about to graduate. And here they are. Their politicians are doing what they do best. Do what is in their interest, because they told you during the campaign period that politics is interest. So now that they have the power, Koga knows he's there for 9 years. I think Prince Johnson was elected. He served 1 or 2 years. So Koga is there for 7 or 8 years before he goes for re-elections again. So he's not hard pressed. There's no sense of urgency. He got 8 years. So this is what politicians do. But let's talk about the CDC eviction. According to the police chief, the Liberian National Police have announced plans to enforce the 6th Judicial Circuit Court's order to evict the Congress for Democratic Change from their national headquarters. The announcement was made in a video address by the Inspector General Seleke Kromah, who stressed the Liberia National Police neutrality and commitment to the rule of law. So I know a few days ago, the CDC went to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court ruled on their behalf, saying that the lower court had made an error. Isn't the verdict of the Supreme Court supersede the lower court? How is this possible?
So Mr. Gayman, I don't know when you say Supreme Court decision supersede the lower court, because we all know that the Supreme Court has the higher force in the country. Unless, for me, what I noticed is, since the coming of the United Party to power, I don't think they have respected that that particular branch of government, like the COFA case, like many other cases that the government are being battled in. So normally when the Supreme Court pass a verdict, it means that verdict is the higher decision. But we saw it during the former Speaker COFA case, where the Supreme Court passed a verdict. The executive came out with another press release. Who they wanted, or the person they accepted, today they are working with. So for me, it's not strange that the police RG will be releasing such statement, especially after listening to the Supreme Court. But we wait to see what happens tomorrow, because the CDC that I know, and we're not praying that such thing will happen. And we also not praying that the police will use force on them. But the CDC that I know, because I live around their area, they already started doing mobilization. They already started, Mr. Gayman, they already started telling the people that some of them, if you live here around single Congo time, go see the party color. While they telling some of them that this day, from a far 10, but at 6 o'clock, they should be at the party color, they should assemble. So when you start to call on your citizen, on your partisan to assemble, immediately getting an invasion, it means other chaos of violence, and we don't pray for it. We pray that both parties remain peaceful. We pray that the police RG, Kehleboe Gongloe, go and listen to read the Supreme Court verdict and reconsider his decision not to say his men. Because just today, this afternoon, I think a police vehicle was parking opposite the CDC headquarters, right to Cottington. That got the partisans very angry. They started to vent their anger, trying to come all of their fans to choose soon. It was good. Some of their leaders were already on the ground, and they called them and say, okay, your please come in. The chairman is about to have a press conference. And immediately after the press conference, citizens started to march around their party headquarters, singing slogan that they are ready to die to protect their party headquarters. And we don't want Liberia to go back to that state. We don't want it. I believe it's time that, because most of these things that are happening, people can say the president can hear it. I believe the president can hear this. He get his political advisor, Mantida Cooper. I believe it's her right. In fact, she should be briefing the president on daily basis on these activities. To say, oh, Mr. President, this is what happened in the country today, especially with your opposition, knowing the kind of the graffiti of the kind of tension that this opposition
figure can sparkle anytime. If you say you want to force the CDC, that I know you can't force in order that party. That one we all know you can't do it. And CDC too. One of the laziest thing I think in this country that most of the political party can do is immediately. How can you save government for 6 years? Another political party save government for 12 years. Immediately after you take power, or in less than a year or two, they can, if you for your party you can pay dues. You can pay your party where you cannot afford anymore. So sometimes I ask myself, what were they doing when they were in power? Because if I know myself that this was the political party, this was the structure that gave me power, I will protect it even when I leave your position. But most of the political parties, only 2 political parties in Liberia that have existed for a longer time, that serve this country, that own a political party in this country, like MPP and the Chewy party. Apart from MPP and the Chewy party that own their own party headquarters, no political party in this country have their own party headquarters. All of them can just run, and their party headquarters can take active as soon election coming. That's being deceptive to your people. When you go other country, when you go South Africa, you will see the ANC has a structured, is well structured property to call a party headquarters. You will see the economic freedom fighter have a well structured building to call a party headquarters. But Calabria, go Nigeria, see APC party headquarters. Calabria, the top political parties, in fact, the top 2 political parties does not have their own party headquarters, still renting. And we now praying for violent Mr. Gayman. We pray that tomorrow will be peaceful. We pray that one person will have to drop down their pride to follow the rule of law. You are muted.
Let's talk about the MCC report card. Some folks are saying the news out of the country about Liberia, about this government, is not promising, doesn't look good. So this is another distraction. For instance, a few months ago, we had Liberian dancing, having fun, say that we were going to get $500 million in the MCC compact. And it was all over the place. UP party saying government officials, everybody, until the finance minister came and said, guys, it's too early for you guys to be celebrating. We have not got this thing yet. Anybody who says we have this is not telling the truth. And today it looks like he was vindicated when the Liberia investigator Leonard Dudu himself wrote this. And he said Liberia MCC base still in limbo as U.S. board backs Fiji and Tonga. And the reason, again, I read it briefly, but let me read it in detail. It says Liberia hope of securing the second Millennium Challenge Corporation MCC compact remain clouded with uncertainty after the U.S. aid agency board this week confirmed new partnership with Fiji and Tonga, but never mentioned the Republic of Liberia or Monrovia. The MCC board of directors, chaired by the U.S. Department Secretary of State Christopher Lundu, met on August 21st to select new countries partners and review foreign aid priorities on the Trump administration's America First agenda. In its statement, the board announced Fiji have been chosen for a full compact and Tonga for a threshold program, citing the 2 political nations' reform commitment and strategic importance. Let me welcome Mr. Nagbe. Mr. Nagbe, welcome there, Chief.
Mr. Gayman, it is great to be with you. Sorry, Johnny, a little late, but you know how it is. But it is good to be here.
Listen, someone told me you just got paid, so you have to go buy Your little
So he
high
put it,
power. You remember we were growing
You
up, we
know,
had a
right?
high power.
he put him on Papa Secret, sir.
Yeah, man. Nobody watching, so you gotta worry about it.
No, I didn't get paid, but it is good to be here. Actually, quite frankly, yes, I did go to run a few errands for the wife. Little thing here and there,
It's
but it's
all
good to
right.
be here. Samson, thanks you. I mean, thank you for holding down the fort back home, and thanks to our audience as well. It's great to be with you. Please do share the show and spread the news. The closing argument is on. But yeah, Jerome, thank you, man. It's good to be here, and I'm glad you're back with us and everything is good. I was a little concerned last night about your early departure, but then we talked about it in the back, and so it kind of assuaged, my fears and concerns. Although it was an emergency, but it was not one that was life threatening. So I'm happy you're back with us.
Yes, as usual, I run a business and all of this, so you have to do both. Last night was our first staff meeting, and there was some serious stuff on there that I needed to address my staff.
Correct.
Especially, they wanted to make sure they wanted to hear from me because everybody putting in for a raise. So I have to tell them, listen, you can put it in as a group. It makes no difference. You have to be evaluated individually,
Right.
and
That's
that's
right.
how the raises are given. For you will be evaluated from 1 to 10. If you get 3, you get 10%, 30%, you get 30%. If you get 5, which is the midway, you get $1. So that's how we do it all the way through. You
There
can
you
come
go.
in and say you need $10,000 raise. You can say that. That's your right, but it doesn't mean you're going to get it.
That's
But
right.
so that's what it was. It's part of the business part of the whole thing here. That's the money part.
Absolutely.
Uh,
And when you leave it to the numbers to make the determination, it removes all of the suspicion of partiality and all of that. Just follow the numbers. If the number say 10% is 10 cents, then if you earn 10% evaluation percentage, then that's what you get.
this is what when we are talking about building institution, that's what it is. Because the policy, the standard says annually on your anniversary, the day that you got hired, that's your anniversary. That's the day you meet with me. We give you an evaluation to evaluate yourself at home.
There you
And then
go.
we do our own evaluation, then we meet and we
There you
compare
go.
notes.
There you
Okay.
go.
And we are looking at truism, absences, quality of work, all of those things. We grade you and then we quantify them and say, this is what you deserve. That's how it works. So, but that institution, they can't beat it. That's the number. But we are here today. There are a lot of great things happening in our country. One that is really striking is the Liberia MCC bid.
Yeah.
Few months ago, you were here warning these people that listen, you stop dancing so early. People going around say big thing coming to happen or big thing have happened. They're throwing out all of these jazz, all the folks. And the finance minister came and told them that listen, guys, this is innuendo. It's not true. We have not received this thing here. Let's wait. And then today, when the United States was supposed to announce the winners, we thought they were going to even mention Liberia, even in a footnote. But instead, the United States selected Fiji and Tonga as the favorite nations without even mentioning Liberia in passing or in footnotes. So we are not saying that it wouldn't happen, but this got people jittery.
Yeah.
The finance ministers, Liberia's hope for securing a second Millennium Challenge Cooperation Compact remain clouded with uncertainty after the U.S. agency selected Fiji and Tonga
Jerome?
without mentioning Liberia or Monrovia at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And our UP friends, they will bang their heads against the wall all they want. They can organize class reloaded or whatever they want. But we said it here ad nauseum. The removal, the illegal removal of the Speaker of the House of Representatives, among other things, the illegal removal of tenured government officials. All of these things signal a chaotic government that does not believe in the rule of law. This is one of the things they're filling on. And I think the rule of law trumps pretty much everything on that card. And they keep filling on the rule of law. Among other things here, they talk about fiscal policy. They weak there. Why? Because they keep stealing the money. They don't want to work within the rule of law. Extra, what they call it, out of budget or whatever they call it, spending. All of these spending, all those things are weighing down on them. Trade policy. There was a guy on the Spoon Network yesterday spilling the beans. What he and Josh Solo had to do up and down, and all of these illegal demands that they were making of him. And this guy has closed the doors on any investment in Liberia, along with anybody else he's associated with. Some of his friends are in Europe, according to him. Now, Josh Solo is the face of the government in Europe. What do you think that's going to do for us? Then they talk about government effectiveness. Same thing we're talking here. Government make one decision, they revise themselves, chaos reigning. The president is in Japan. The press secretary said something is happening. The deputy minister is on this side. He's saying something entirely different. No coordination, no synchronization. Government is ineffective. The president announced if you don't declare your asset by such and such, 450 people were supposed to be fired. Well, what has happened to these people? There's a question mark there. And so, with all of these things hanging in the balance, I don't see how we expect to pass the MCC challenge. I'm not saying we failed, but other countries may be doing better than us, and therefore they are gaining favorable attention than we are. I mean, yes, Tonga and Fiji, the Pacific nation countries seem to have passed this next stage. We are expected to be in that category, but we're not. Maybe they'll come and take a look at us again during the next round. But like you said, and we all agreed here, there's not much to be jubilant about yet. This is we're still hanging in the balance.
Honorable, we've been saying this, and I'm saying this to all of even the CMC, the CDC, the Unity Party. We're not a Unity Party because they are on a hot seat. But anybody else who wants to come to power, our commitment to not just writing glossy papers and making things nice, like Musa Beliti said the last time, the beautifully written manifesto that no one reads or implement. Don't come talk to me about manifesto. Talk to me about what have you done for the people? What are you doing in your neighborhood? But when you when we talk about, some of us are talking about building institutions, look what it says here. They said Fiji and Tonga were chosen for the compact, and the main reason for their reform and commitment.
There you go.
To reformation.
There you go. There you go.
And the strategic importance. Strategically, they are important just like we are. In Africa, Liberia is important. But what commitment do we have for reform?
Yeah.
This is what the people are looking at. When we say these things, some people get upset. People don't want to listen, and they think you're trying to outshine them. And that's why I see this to where it is. I have said this, like they say, ad nauseum. People who are strong in governance, they are looking at structure. It's not what do you do by fly by night. Structure. These people not only have they done it, but they have made a commitment to reform their society, to reform the government. How in the world would the Unity Party want people to take them seriously when they are recasting their budget twice in 1 year?
Yeah.
I heard today on Radio Maison, Representative Matthew Joe says the money that was set aside in the budget for representatives, that are $50,000 per legislative project in each county, that money was diverted to electing a Koga, I mean, Kong, as when is that Kong? Yeah, Kong, as Speaker of the House. Now there's a big hole in the budget, and now they want to go and recast by taking money from other line items and failing where they took all this money from.
Yeah,
Can you
that money, Jerome, not to cut you off, but Musa did say that on the day that he was announcing he would not be running again for the seat because now he believes that his ambition cannot be achieved through anybody else but himself. And what he said was this: they had taken that money that was set aside for what you just described and gave each of these guys $50,000 to vote for Kong for the speaker position. And when he met with the president, he raised that issue. The president got really upset. According to Musa, don't take it from me. The president got really upset and started screaming at him and accusing him of saying things, he doesn't know nothing about, whatever, he can't justify. And even the dinner that he invited them to, the president did not eat because he was so incensed about this and walked away. But this is what is happening. And he's been talking about recasting the budget. He has done letters to the president, to whoever responsible authority. But yes, we heard they are trying to recast the budget because they've exhausted their appropriations and they're trying to refill the holes. And what they're doing, they're going out to the Lebanese people and other people to go and credit money and promise them in the next year budget, we'll give you the money back, basically mortgaging our revenue that is supposed to be coming in the next fiscal year because they got no money. They've already eaten what was there. They're going out to credit. That's what the recasting is going to mean for us. And what that means is a denial of service to most of our people. The little services they were providing, hospital, drugs, education, roads, all of those things now will be seized up because the guys are living above their means. It's just like you in your own house. You run out of money, you pay the income here, you go somewhere and go credit money and say, my man, when I take pay tomorrow, I'll pay you. What do you think is going to happen? Dico cover hole. That's what our people call it.
The payday loan.
The payday loan.
We see that commercial all the time.
And when you go and you're in the disadvantaged position, the terms can be very, very stiff. They can be disadvantageous to you because now you take anything they throw at you.
It's loan shocking. That's why the NAACP and the black lawyers said they are targeting the poor, and that's us. That's the black folks in the neighborhood.
That's why they call it predatory loans,
Yes. They are predators. They go out there. They don't go open their payday loan on Wall Street, near Hollywood, go to the capital where the rich people live in. No, they have it in the ghettos, in the poor neighborhoods, and they tell you, oh, just come on, come on, you can get your pay in advance.
Yeah.
But it's going to be 40% interest. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Person has no money already. The few $100 he's bringing home every 2 weeks, 40%, 30% of that is off the top.
Off the top.
And then they say, if you don't pay the full amount upfront, just pay the 30% interest, and you will still be holding until you can come up with the full amount.
Yeah. And more than that, when you default, there's additional penalty.
30%, other 30% add on to it to the point where you just can't get out. So here we are now. The government of Liberia is doing, and Unity Party. When the CDC came to power, they said this, and we laughed at it. We thought they were fooling around. They said that the Unity Party have credited from Metal Steel, from Firestone, from LAT, 2 years taxes in advance. How can you do that when a new government is coming and you have collected the taxes 2 years in advance?
Yeah.
So the next government that's coming has absolutely nothing to work with.
Yeah.
So here we are. You are recasting the budget twice in the same year. So all the money that was put aside for legislators, a workshop and engagement and projects, that is no longer on the table.
Yep.
They will say, well, give us next year, then you, instead of 50,000, now we'll give you 100,000. Well, if you don't have the 50,000, then how are you going to get 100,000 next year?
And remember, Jerome, all of this is within 12% of the budget. Because remember, 88% of the budget goes to recurring expenditure, including salary, private jets, generator fuel, and all the jolly. So we're talking about just 12% of the budget. 12%.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
So, Mr. Gayman,
yes.
I just received an information
Okay.
from the CDC party headquarters. There
Okay.
is a huge police deployment at the moment, and their party headquarters might be invaded tonight, as early as maybe 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock early morning.
You are hearing it from Care Radio, our reporters on the ground. The Liberia National Police is planning to invade.
So something.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, Jerome. Something. I'm going to put you on the spot here because you're a journalist. Can you explain to me? Maybe it is simple. I just don't understand it. Why can't the CDC just leave? Why are they putting so much on the line to fight over this spot? Is there really a reason?
So, Mr. Gayman, for me, I think it's political. When I say political, it's probably the CDC want to use the situation to rekindle.
Okay, got you.
Yeah, because when you start fighting for somebody property that you don't own,
exactly.
For me, I ain't see, especially knowing that you owe in rent. That's not good
for correction. They came out. They provided a paper. They do not owe any rent. This is the contention. The contention is if you say you're going to evict me, you got to evict me for either I owe you and I can't pay. But if I'm current with my bill, then you have to give me time to leave. That's the contention.
But Mr. Gayman, I think they are giving the CDC enough time.
I was going to say that too. I didn't.
After the renting law, every tenant, once you are served a notice, is 1 month. Once you are served a notice as a tenant in Liberia, it's 1 month grace period to relocate. That's what the law says. So in the CDC, I got money 1 month, almost 2-3 months.
But the Supreme Court ruled that the lower court erred because the property is in the name of two parties, and one party cannot claim to evict. That is where they say it's a very complicated, and like I'm saying to the seditionists, this is on them. If you are in a place for 20 years, they've been since 2005.
Exactly.
And you don't have a plan B.
Exactly.
Then when you develop, you build complexes on the people's property without a guarantor telling you in writing that if you develop on this property, it will either be prorated in the price when we are selling. If you don't have any of those things, then it's on you.
Yeah.
Yes. Mr. Dempster is being political because one side of that family is from the old order,
right? And
they support the Unity Party, and one party, which is the Bernard, they support. They were part of the new folks like you guys who came on the scene, so they support the new order, and they are siding with the CDC.
Okay.
So here we are. The Dempsters are saying we are siding with the Unity Party. The Bernards are saying we're siding with the CDC. Okay. But despite that, these guys should have been smart enough to know that until that deed is in your name, you are a tenant. And someone, Mr. Nagbe, you were investing in property, somebody moved into your house, you can come and say, listen, I'm moving back into my house, you have to leave.
Yeah. And they always tell you a relative is coming, or I need to improve. Yeah.
That's right. And you got 30 days to move. You got to move.
Yes.
You know this is going to happen. So this is why I fault, and I'm hoping that Ahmed is going to come on. Maybe he's on the line. They're doing a lot of stuff, but he needs to come on here.
And Sarah, I hope Sarah whatever what you do in this country, I hope you come in. so you can help us understand this, yes, Sarah, please.
But
For CFC, you put it party akola.
Sarah is not even commenting. She's not, because usually she if she's not on the phone, she's
Right.
writing in the comment section.
Right in the comment
She
section.
blasting everybody. I not seen her. I met disappear. The man in ink.
Oh, you know who else my camera? Susan.
Oh,
But she's just living in Australia, so you
yeah,
know.
she's just waking. Listen, it is a bad day to be a sedition. Nobody showing up. I don't call it truth in ink.
Truth in ink, yeah.
The ink man ain't showing the ink dry. Hey, man, wherever you are, Mr. Nagbe got a couple of pens here. You know that crew, that people from the south, they got 10 pen on their chest, all
I
colors.
know. I got all the colors. I got red, I got yellow, I got green. You know?
Any color you want,
Robbie
we
got
got
a
it.
pen on his chest.
Any color you want, anything you want. We have it here. Come on.
Come on.
Sarah Dopoh, wherever you are, tell us what's going on. If you are online with the CDC headquarters, let us know what's going on. You can even play the video. Let us listen to what they are saying, so we can do that. But knowing the Liberian politics, knowing how politics works anywhere around the world, when you are in power, you have to know how to leverage your power.
Absolutely.
You have to have a plan A or plan B, sometimes plan C. And I think this is where we say the king, the emperor is naked.
Yeah.
Totally butt naked. And at this point, but Mr. Nagbe, I'm getting something here. It says you guys have been too excited about the distraction with the bad news out of Washington, D.C., with everything happening in Monroe. All of a sudden, they are falling back on their default position, which is CDC. Anytime you're in trouble, just attack CDC and it take the front page of every paper. Look. The police chief came out and said now he says that the Liberia National Police had now planned to enforce the 6th Judicial Circuit Court order to evict the Congress for Democratic Change from Congo Town. Then he says here, the announcement was made in a video address by the Inspector General Gregory Coleman, who stressed the Liberia National Police neutrality and commitment to a rule of law. So they are just neutral. They have nothing to do with it. He said, at this critical moment in our nation's democratic journey, the Liberia National Police reaffirmed its neutrality and commitment to upholding the rule of law. He explained that the court rate of possession mandated the eviction of CDC and take possession of the place. This planned action is non-political, Coleman said. Our role is constitutional to preserve peace, protect lives, and ensure that the decision of our courts are carried out and cities should respect the law.
Look, let me tell you that, we're not gloating, right? These are our opposition brethren. I mean, we're all in the same camp, and I've said it here over and over. We take no joy in celebrating what is going on with them. But just like you said, it's just confusing. You've been paying rent for 20 years. And you know what is even funnier? I think they have their voice, their Freedom FM. I think it's in there too. So this is going to be effectively silenced. And how did they not anticipate they to make preparation? I don't understand. I mean, last week they float, an AI projection of the headquarters that they're moving to on 9th Street. Didn't they put that out? I mean, we didn't do that.
The president had willed his 9th Street property to them.
Exactly.
I think they should just move there.
That's what I'm saying. I think they should just move there. And I understand the point that Samson is making. In Liberia, we like the underdog story. Most of our guys, they gain popularity. About going to jail, confronting the government. That we get it. But with this thing going on and all of that, I think it is starting to make them to look a little bit irresponsible. But again, there are brothers and sisters in the opposition community. I think we're standing with them in the struggle. It's just that the confusion that accompanies all of this is what I feel to understand, and that's why I was hoping that our colleagues here on set will come on and educate us more so that we can understand the symbolic stand that they're making. What this is going to gain them, I don't know. But I think tomorrow is going to be ugly. I just hope no young people's blood will be spilled, but I can almost predict that there is going to be a standoff. Gregory Coleman, for today, he finally chooses to interpret the law and enforce the law. When they refused to enforce the law in the Capitol building saga, when the speaker went and authorized people to illegally break into other people's cars, they did nothing about it. But now, of course, he's going to enforce the law, quote unquote. And I think tomorrow they're going to make an example of the CDC. They're trying to diminish the CDC. They're trying to belittle them. They're trying to put them in a bad light. I think that's what this is about tomorrow. And I know our CDC fellows will put up a fight, but it is difficult to fight the government because the government is just that powerful. So I just hope that our young people will not be sacrificed tomorrow. If the option is to leave this compound, I would advise them to move on to the president's compound that he will to them on 9th Street. Go there and occupy the place and do what you have to do with it. But I don't think this is gonna. I don't think it's gonna pass off peacefully tomorrow.
Yeah. In other note, I don't know what you think about what David Fahad is saying here. The former finance minister David Fahad has called on the government of Liberia to reclaim and renovate the historic E.J. Roy building on Ashburn Street in Monroe, arguing that it should be transformed into a public asset to generate revenue and reduce government spending on rent. What do you think about his idea?
It's a good idea. I don't know who owns. Quite frankly, I never think. I think that building may belong to the TWP. I'm not sure.
No. We did a segment on it.
Okay.
The Supreme Court ruled during the early era that the building, yes, it was named after E.J. Roy.
Okay.
But the money were collected. Every taxpayer in Liberia,
right,
road taxes were removed to build that building.
Okay.
So what the government was saying that it was not the True Party's money, it was the people's money. So the building should go back to the people.
Okay.
This is the argument, and the Supreme Court agreed with the people that the government that building does not belong to the True Party.
Got you.
Our friend Reginald Goodrich, who was the chair of the True Party at the time, was the one that took the government to court, and he lost that case.
Okay.
So what David Fahad is saying is a beautiful building. It's in a beautiful spot of the country. I think they should renovate the building, turn it into office spaces. During the E.J. Roy, during the heyday.
No, I mean,
you had concerts, you had everything there.
Absolutely. I think that with the background, I think I remember slightly now what you just said. I think it will make a lot of sense to do that. I think it will bring a lot of revenue to the government. Talking about even the Dopoh Palace Hotel, I know during the Sawyer government, the government operated out of there for a while, and that's another, edifice that could generate a lot of income for the government. But yes, I think Mr. Fahad is onto something. I don't know, what the cost is going to be to do the renovation.
Oh, it's going to cost a lot. That's why he's saying it's going to cost in the millions.
Yeah.
To bring it back, because
and Jerome, sometimes you put an idea out there and some investor might come, venture capital or whatever, come here and take it over. You reach an agreement. They might work on it for, and run it for maybe 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, and generate their money. And then eventually it passes on to you. But I don't disagree with David Fahar at all on those ideas. I think those are good ideas.
Well, this is what we are talking about. Some
Well,
people
I don't know why a presidential candidate put his check where he going.
the propo chair, that chair doesn't look presidential at all. You will fall down when you sit on that
It
chair.
reminds me of Clint Eastwood. You remember at the Republican convention chair? Man, look.
Talking to the chair.
Talking to the chair. Oh boy.
That is your president in waiting. He waiting right in that chair.
He waiting right in that chair.
Okay. This is they're talking about Mr. Nagbe. We talked about this the last time. How people the every government will come and say, our government is doing great. Look at what the World Bank said. World Bank said our economy grew 4.5%.
Right.
And the people sitting there say, nobody bought my beta boy here for the past 1 week. So it says here, fiscal gains highlight disconnect between GDP growth and everyday life. I like the way they put that head title. It says here, the government of Liberia is reporting steady economic progress in its 2025 mid-year fiscal review, with rising revenue, increased capital spending, and GDP growth projected at 5.6%. But despite the optimistic figure released by the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning in collaboration with the Central Bank of Liberia, widespread public discontent is growing over persistent hardship, rising prices, and the lack of visible improvement in everyday living. So let me welcome Mr. Chuchu Jones. You are a finance person. Your government is reporting that they are seeing unprecedented growth, 5.6%. But man, Mary in the waterside market say nobody buy anything, so you can keep your 5.6%. So there is a big gap between the Liberian intelligentsia, they're reporting to you, and the reality on the ground. That's why the newspapers say here there is a disconnect between the GDP people and the Irish people. Your take on that as a finance person? You are muted.
Well, thank you guys for having me on this beautiful Friday evening.
Hey, Alex, welcome.
Thank you very much. So I'll just address this, and then I know the other topic of which are of interest to me. Okay. But as far as the growth in Liberia, the GDP currently is 4.8%. Mm-hmm. So whatever projection they are making, that's not actual, mm-hmm. right? And that is not real GDP, because real GDP, you have to subtract the inflation rate. And the inflation right now is 9.9%. So literally you have no growth, real growth.
I told you, you're in a negative. If you take the 5.6 for the 11% you're talking about, you're a negative, yes.
Correct. And 9.9%, it was actually last month, it was 11.7%. One of the highest in a long time. So economically, the government is feeling. On every indicator, from the balance of trade is now 120 million, right? Which was 78 million before previous. So that means that we are importing 120 more than we did last time. All right. I don't see any number. The budget is government budget 2.7% of GDP. The government debt to GDP is now 54.9%, so 55%, which is one of the highest. Okay, that number used to be around 30 to 40% years ago, which means the amount of debt that we've taken from the IMF, from the World Bank or African Development Bank to our growth level.
Yes.
So over half of wherever you see is debt. I think
Alex,
it's over 2.5 billion.
Alex,
Yeah.
could you do me a favor and expand on that a little bit? Because we kind of touched on it over the recast on the budget. Our people whom over here, when you say your debt to ratio, you go to the bank, it means what you owe
Correct.
against what your income is.
Correct.
If you owe more than you bring it in, you're upside down. And please explain that a little bit more. Your Honor,
Yeah, so the debt to GDP is where our economy is compared to how much debt we're taking. So, as I indicated, for instance, right, in 2017, it was 29%. Okay, 2021, it went to 36% and 43%, and now it's 55%. That is critical by any economic metric, meaning you basically can pay your bills. We're all borrowing. Okay, so on a Borka, just in the last, like I said, year alone, it came around 50, 52. Now it's going up. And as you can see, also our currency is devaluing. I think it's over 200 now, around 200 to one US dollar. At one point, a few years ago, it was 160 under the Weah administration, 170. So you have high inflation, double digit, because 9.9% essentially 10, right? If you round up. You have a high debt to GDP. Okay. You have a high interest rate. All right. Interest rate is 17%. That's prime bank rate. 17%. 17.25%. So essentially, you have to borrow at 17%. So how much are you going to make?
Wow.
Okay. So two things are happening. One is the inflation in actuality is much higher, and that's why they're maintaining a 17% central bank interest rate, because you use the interest rate to slow the economy down when you're having a high inflation because of growth. Okay, I think you can see here right now with Trump and the Federal Reserve, and to cut interest rate. And they don't want to cut interest rate because they feel that the unemployment number is good, the growth is good. You understand, and they're worried more about inflation, which is what the market women in Liberia, the students, the everyday people, inflation is a major problem, because meaning that the prices you pay for things are just keep going up because you are printing excess money. So to pay bills, instead of allowing the GDP to grow or to have a healthy, sustainable growth, you're just printing money and you're just borrowing. And basically, it's, you are going to collapse. Anything over 50% debt to GDP is a critical level. And I think there's no economic picture that anybody can point. And I'm reading directly from the site. I mean, this is current that it can boast of. So essentially, in 1 year time, Joe Burger has completely mismanaged the economy to an extent which basically took 4 to 5 years to get to that level. They borrow almost over $300 million in 1 year time on top of revenue. So this guy, literally, I don't understand what he can say. I mean, I was on this very show when I told you guys that bringing back Garguah to become finance minister was a horrible decision.
Yep.
I think you bear my testimony.
That's correct.
So he doesn't understand basic finance. He doesn't have banking experience. He doesn't have real commercial experience. These are bureaucrats, politicians. Okay, so they don't even understand these things. The real basic economic principles and banking, how these things affect. You get 17% interest rate. How anybody going to do business? How are you going to encourage investors to come to the country because investors have to borrow? Every company from Apple to Google, in order to meet their current expenditure payroll, they borrow short term, right? Because the money can producers, when the money come in, then they repay the loan. You should have an interest rate. For example, in Burkina Faso, I think it's around 5%. So you're encouraging people to borrow and spend and go into business. In Liberia, 17%. Who's the central bank manager to be fired? It's too high. So there's no explanation for that. They just don't know what they're doing. So they're just taking numbers here. They don't understand it. The bloggers said don't understand any kind of real economic models or metric. They don't have a plan. And that's why the ordinary people are feeling the pinch, because high inflation, too much debt, printing of money, and then wasteful spending, traveling, with 40 people. It's just economic lunacy.
Wow. Mr. Nagbe, just imagine we're hitting almost 20% interest, right? So you are taking 20 cents of every dollar, so your dollar is worth only 80 cents. And you're going to buy to make up that 20 cents on every dollar. I mean, that is a hole that I don't think anybody can, the regular people, you and I definitely can't do that.
No.
Just imagine what the average person, like the thing here in Liberia, is that despite the flowery fiscal gains, many Liberians argue that the rosy figure are not translating into better living standards. Prices of basic commodity remain stubbornly high, even as global prices and the prices of stores, some of these things are going down. Ours is going up.
And Mr. Jerome, let me just add this point.
Mm-hmm.
The 17% is not what you're borrowing at.
Look at that.
So the 17% is what the banks borrow from the central bank.
That's correct.
So when they add their own market rate, you're paying
up to about 29%.
So let me make that point very, very clear.
So Mr. Nagbe, what he said to us there, basically, if we went to borrow and we got our rate that they got, you should be jumping for joy.
That's right.
But when they come in, add there everything, or you up to maybe 29%. Now we talk about loan sharking. You either pay my money or I take out your kneecap. We talk about it later on. That's what happened there. Those of you from Staten Island, you know what I'm talking about, the Gambino family.
Staten Island. No, I mean, Alex, I like the way he broke it down. You're right. Even here in the States here, I mean, I'm sure everywhere else, the credit card company, for instance, by the time you spend over 30% of your balance on that card, you are in the risky territory. Let me put it down for our people. If you have a credit card that has $1,000 on it, if by the time you spend over $300 on that card, you are already considered, risk. And here we're talking about 54% or so. So that is very risky. And your credit worthiness and all of these, when you go to borrow, your rate is now determined by your level of risk. And therefore, Jerome, you and I can walk in the store, depending on your credit worthiness. You could get a car and pay $1,000 for it, and I could get the same car and end up paying $10,000 for it because of our credit history. And so we go to the foreign markets to go and lobby. These are some of the things that people are taking into consideration when they're trying to come and do business with you. They check you out, and let's not make any mistake. These people do their due diligence. They will go and research you. They will check your country out. And all of these things we're enumerating plus more. Those are all the things that come up, How do these people respect the rule of law? If I go and do business and there is a tampering that goes on and I go to court, will I get a fair judgment? Will the courts, interpret the law? And even if they did on my side, will they abide by the law? Those are some of the questions that people are asking. And if the answers that come back are not yes and yes and yes, then there is a problem, And those are some of the things that
let me just put that into perspective, to educate people. So, for instance, and I'm going to use some other African countries. In Seychelles, their interest rate is 1.7%. In Botswana, it's 1.9%. In Cape Verde, it's 2.5%. In Nigeria, it's 3%. Mauritius, 4.5%. So, that's the reason why you have higher quality of life in those places. You have high HDI. Seychelles and Botswana, much better. In fact, the president from Botswana, he's not even content. He's not satisfied. He's outraged at their performance, their economic performance. I think you see many clips of him. But comparatively to Liberia, and this happens, remember when Garguah removed the central bank governor?
Yeah.
Which was a tenure, which was an overstretched, illegal.
Yeah.
Remember, these are the consequences of the boy. I know he causing or whoever there who
Yeah.
is a complete idiot. And those things affect, it affects society. So those who jump me, oh yeah, Garguah doing well. Where is the number? The things are only getting worse, and things will get worse. I think I also predicted that last year. By the end of this year, we have to go back to the IMF again. We're already in an IMF program, which is bad enough, okay? And we can't manage the resources. We can't raise enough revenue. We're running current account deficit, trade deficit, high debt. So what has this government done better so far? That's the question people need to pose, because your life is not going to get any better. The numbers don't show anything decent.
No. And talking about that, Jerome read those numbers. You came on, Alex, and also kind of elaborate on that. When those stats come out, the stats they're different. And then you walk the streets, the perception index is measured here in this country. But we take our temperature by just going to Mahawa in the markets market store and asking her, okay, how are your potato greens doing this year than they did last year? And they'll tell you. If they are telling you things are getting better, then you're on the right trajectory. But almost consistently, when people go out to the markets, the reports that come out point a story of a downward spiral. And these people are not making things up. They tell you they sold better last year than they're selling this year. And their goods, they will tell you, we're not doing well. And that is the best, I believe, indication of how well the economy is performing. So you can bring all the numbers, you can cut the stats.
But the numbers are not good. That's what I'm saying. Even if Liberia were growing at 7%, okay, it would be horrible, because you still have high inflation, high debt. You don't have any capital investment. So even if we grow, let me give you another example. Under Taylor government, you know what the GDP in Liberia was for at least 3 years? 21%. Taylor don't get any credit. I'm just going to speak the numbers here. I'm not anybody fan but the fact is, the Liberian economy grew between 19 and 21% under Charles Taylor. So you're talking about 5% and 4%. We already have one of the smallest GDP. Our GDP is 5 billion. Okay, put that into perspective. Let me give you a country. Sudan is 50 billion. Okay, put that into perspective. 5 billion. Okay, Burkina Faso is 23 billion. It was 19 billion 2 years ago. When Traoré took over, I know in Liberia, nobody want to hear about Burkina Faso, the progress that has been made there. But it's undeniable. The numbers speak for themselves. So you can sit down all you want, sit down and say, oh yeah, that military regime and whatever the case may be. But the fact is, there's economic improvements. In every statistics, what you call it, interest rate is 5.2%. So they're better off 19% to 23% in 2 years' time. And we have not grown in real terms now. If I were declining, but let's just use the nominal GDP. So Garguah came, it was around 5%, 4%, 3%, and it just been around 4-5%. Sierra Leone used to be around 4%. Today, Sierra Leone is around 6-7%. So our GDP is too small. And the only reason for that is just bad economic leadership, that we don't have the people in government who understand these things. How many times the finance minister has come on any forum like this or anywhere to discuss economic policy? Never.
I wanted you to address this. Then we can move to other subjects. It says here, in contrast to rising collection from individual taxpayers, corporate contributions have declined. Concession-based taxes dropped 41.5% during the review period, largely due to deferred payment from companies like China Union. The imbalance has sparked concerns about unequal tax enforcement and fairness in the government's revenue strategy. Non-tax-paying Non-tax revenue underperformed also. Of the expected 82.5 million expected, only 64 million was collected. And the Liberian refinery company was the only state-owned enterprise that submitted anything. Okay, and it's amid deep development, President Joseph Waka acknowledged the growing economic strain faced by ordinary Liberians during his address marking Liberia's 170th independent anniversary at the Centennial Pavilion. The president announced a formation of a high-level presidential ad hoc committee to address rising costs in the economy and the cost of living. And he appointed Vice President Poon as the head of that. Could you imagine an economic condition of this magnitude? You appoint a politician. He appointed the vice president and gave him 45-day mandate to assess the market conditions and recommend solutions. President Waka described Combs as a trusted and experienced public servant with strong background in business. Mr. Jones, I don't want to beat the dead horse, but can you imagine when you are talking about GDP, you're talking about the major happening around the world, for you to say Combs, because he operated some hotel in Ganta, so they made him the chair of this economic council.
Well, first of all, that's a slap in the face to the Minister of Finance, okay? Because the Minister of Finance is the head of the economic team, by default. And Combs is just, like you say, a politician. Earned most of his living by way of government, in my opinion, corruption. Running a motel or running a Kinju operation is not considered to be something that gives you economic background or economic knowledge and skills. We all know how these businesses are operated. But be it as it may, at first they came out and they said they were making improvement. Then they come in now and saying, oh, prices are high. Prices will be high if you're running a double-digit inflation. That should be, first and foremost. They came in, they said they had a rest plan, right? They had a plan, and that plan was going to be to grow the economy, reduce the hardship on the ordinary man, etc., etc. All right. Instead of that, we have now a declining economy. We have more hardship, economic hardship. We have literally no employment, no net employment in the country. In fact, there's a reduction. Look, one of the things that under the Weah administration that I think I applauded him for was that creating, those jobs, right? Creating those jobs for people to get some kind of income. And a lot of people criticize it. A lot of people say, oh, they on a payroll. But that's what government do, because government is your last resort in terms of employment. When people are not hired, you saw during the Great Depression, right? Mm-hmm. The government had to create projects so that people can get jobs. You can't force an investor to invest in your country, first of all, when you don't respect the laws. Second of all, you don't regard businesses. You have high interest rates. You literally banana republic, so nobody's going to come to Liberia to invest in what? Besides gold and diamond and those things. You don't have a consumer market. People making $2 a day, where can they buy? So the job was to get people income up, to give people some degree of assistance. Even if they're not doing anything, that is acceptable. They do that in this country.
Of course.
All right. That people who are not earning, students, the elderly, unemployed, you get your unemployment benefit. Why you think they do that? Because that's a way, one, of reducing crime. The drug you're talking about, when a man doesn't have work, he doesn't have hope, he doesn't have any opportunity, what are you expecting to do? How you this means. So the government has been a complete failure. And I hear saying it, I said it, but Walker has no economic or business management experience from anywhere. Yeah, was a man was given positions simply based on travel, indoor regime, and alien regime, and so forth. All right. Walker has not even written a paragraph that I have seen, published anything that he's done in the area of economic management. How do you take a person like that and put them over a struggling economy? Sorry, say what you want, but Ellen has experience. Ellen was a former bank president. Ellen worked at World Bank. She was president of LBDI. All right, she has an accounting degree. You know, she at least could speak the language. Booker has none of such, especially that he doesn't have any real work experience outside of government. When you talk about creating jobs, why you think in America now the unemployment rate is so low? You know, people are seeing all these things. The sky will fall when Donald Trump get there. Donald Trump's a businessman. He understands how to sell products. He understands how the economy works. Jeremiah Kuhn is a politician. All his life in Liberia for the most part, he's been a politician. Then you bring a finance minister that failed under the Ellen regime. In every era, every category, here was a country that collected over $16 billion in natural resource concession. 16 billion under the Ellen administration. Today, you don't even have a public library. They stole the money. And these people are evil. They pay themselves. They travel. When they travel, they get $2,000 a day. So they're traveling all the time so they can accumulate personal wealth for themselves. It's state loot. They're looters. They're looting for the people. And they're not putting any money back into businesses, like you say, farming and all these different small businesses. It's so unfortunate that many of our people, including the ones who are even educated, they're ignorant to these things. They're ignorant to real economic activities, and they don't go out and read reports on Liberia. They don't go out and see how other countries are doing. Like I said, Seychelles, Mauritius, Botswana, Rwanda. You understand? They're doing marginally better. I'm not comparing Liberia with America, but at least you can get a 8-9% GDP growth. At least you can bring inflation rate down to 5%. At least you can create 100,000 new jobs. So you're just getting paid. You spent $600 billion in your last budget and you didn't create one job. What's the excuse for that? That whole government is just been a dysfunctional a failure to the point that it's embarrassing.
Mr. Nagbe,
Yeah.
when Toye won the
By the way, Jerome, sorry, Susan's speech is in the bag. I don't know it again.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, you know what? The old folks say now, be careful what you ask for. You're going to get it. You call her name. You say she should come. And she's here. Okay, let me call the guy. Say, be careful what you ask for. Let me tell you. You ask for Susan.
I know, right?
So let me call.
I thought that here, but I'm really looking for.
No, I mean, is calling his homeboys and telling them that you don't show up today. No. But we had, somebody said, Susan, please bring Susan on. We had the folks were laughing at Toye when Toye told them that it is a common economic policy and tradition to put money back into the system. The more people you give adequate benefit transfer, that money that goes to poor people does not go into savings, it goes right back into the economy. That's so right. We are hiring all these people, sweeping the street, giving them $50 a month, $75 a month, $100 a month. You may find it to be nothing, but that money goes right back into the economy. And from what Jones is saying here, even in the United States during the COVID time, they did transfer. President Trump sent out money. Everybody got how you call it check they sent out. During the COVID time, they sent money out to everybody, right?
Yes, some kind of relief. I forgot.
Some kind of relief.
Check,
that money was because the people know when the money goes to the poor people do not save their money.
No,
they don't have enough.
It's hand to mouth.
That's right. So that money goes right back into the economy. So the economy never stopped. So Toye came up with this idea that even during the COVID, right, people stay home, but to make sure they got money, people still went got paid.
Yes, Dr. Jones is saying stimulus. I think she's right.
Stimulus check, yes, stimulus check,
Stimulus.
PPP check.
PPP
I got
check,
it.
yeah.
I got the because of business, so I got
Yeah.
I got $287,000. So I kept all my employees paid. Nobody was laid off, and obviously that's how it goes. So
Yeah.
these things have a way, but for Ganfuan to come and for these guys to be here, and the economy is totally collapsing.
Yeah.
Where the regular folks, people who really need it,
Yeah.
can't afford.
No, you're right. You're right, Jerome. It's, I mean, I'm not an economist, but it's a win-win. You know, you give out the checks to our, you know, low income earners. Well, you give out the checks. People are happy because you're giving them money, and just like you said, the money comes right back to the government by way of taxes. So you have a happy, population, and you also increase the government's tax base. So I think that's what Toa was proposing. Makes a lot of sense. And like you said, the theory is that those of us poor people, we're not worthy enough to to save on this money. You give it to us. We're not going to put it in the bank and let it sit down there. We're going straight to the market, and spend it. And most of it comes right back to the government. That was the concept. But yeah, I'm sure many people didn't understand that. But I don't remember the last time like we ever gave out a stimulus check. I know in the mid '80s, President Doe, I think it was the mid '80s or late '80s, did the savings bond thing, which well, not exactly a stimulus check, but something along those lines. Even then, when those bonds matured, they were irredeemable. I know my 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 brother-in-law, but I know it was on the floor. I remember at some point in time, it was useless because but but yeah, it was, but the Doe government at the time, I think they were trying to pay back the Americans or something like that, and they issued the savings bond. But yeah, there are different methods, different remedies that can be used. Maybe Mr. Jones here, you're talking about the current minister and all of that, but those are, you bring people in there because of the ideas that they bring into play. You come in and you got to be creative and try to help the government. Right now we're in a sticky situation. And I don't see much help coming. I mean, twice now I've heard the finance minister, telling us to go and pray. I think the first time was when the U.S. decided to cut aid or something like that through the UC closure and all of that. His reaction to that was to go and pray. And then I believe the MCC compact thing was
Yeah, another time he said he was going to knock on heaven's door.
exactly. So I don't know to what extent.
Listen, heaven is not listening. Heaven is not listening. Look at he's a persona non grata. God said we don't want you here.
No, I don't know to what extent. I wish Jim and Burrow here to tell me what kind of economic policy.
Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir.
We were depending on this MCC scorecard, MCC to make some money. And today, the American government selected, they were supposed to speak on us, at least mention us. They selected Fiji and Tonga. And according to the editorial here, this week confirmed new partnership with Fiji and Tonga, but made no mention of Liberia or Monrovia. What's going on? You sitting over there? Why you didn't want to call us?
I mean, because they review the country economy, right? And based on it, the U.S. government, the Trump administration, would perhaps give them some leeway or approve it for Liberia. But if you look at our honest review of Liberia, like I said, over the last year, from any economic or financial standpoint, it's been a disaster, complete disaster. And what's worse, like you said, is that the government employees, the high-level government employees, continue to enjoy rich benefits and pay, including the president. So amidst all these, problems, I know Ghana had to have a reduction, I think, of 15 to 25% in minister salaries and government salaries. But this Barker administration, instead of even doing something like that, they have no intentions. Okay, our ministers and our presidents are one of the highest pay in the world.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the 200 countries in the world, not just Africa, Barker alone salary is upward maybe $300,000 a year. When you add benefit, yes, his budget, the Ministry of State for Presidential Affairs, is 10 point something million dollars. For what? Okay, for what? Then you get the legislator, their budget is between 40 to 60 million dollars. Before you know it, all the money is gone. No money for school, hospital, investment, what you call any kind of economic relief programs or stimulus. Then you get a feeling central bank, because the central bank is an independent agency. And
Supposed to be.
it's supposed to be. And if you have a very good central bank, they are charged with, price stability and growth and jobs, price stability and jobs. But the central bank in Liberia, which, these guys make tens of thousands of dollars, okay? Look at it. Look at the numbers. They're supposed to manage inflation. They haven't had a press conference talking about whether to adjust the central. The prime rate. I don't know since. So everything about this. I don't want to sound like anti any government stuff. If progress is in Liberia, it's good for everybody. Okay.
Yeah, but Mr. Jones, this is a Liberian issue. The reason most of us are talking about it is because maybe what you and I know, and those people who are actually watching us know, that we bear the brunt of what happens in Liberia when they call you every day for something.
Yeah.
Like today, I got 3 different people sending me the $590 tuition from Stella Marie's and from the Baptist Theological Seminary, from another trade school. We talk about lots of money.
Yeah.
And they're asking you to help them. My nephews are telling me, I want to go to this school. I want to graduate so I can get into the private sector. But why nobody is helping? Because nobody has it. So like the scripture said, to whom much is given, much is required. So those of us who are here, and they include everybody on here. I'm looking at Dr. Howard Jones, I'm Joe Moyu, all of you guys, we all receive the same request. People calling you. At least you'd be lucky when they call you for tuition. They call you for burial benefit. They help somebody bury their mind and all that other stuff. So when we talk about the economy, that's what it is. It is rough. But Mr. Jones, it says here, the reason those 2 countries were chosen from the top is that their commitment to reform. They have made commitment to reform, the commitment to reformation, to reform the system. They are not looking at us as people who are willing to reform. Mr. Jones,
do they even know the extent of the problem? It's one thing when you understand what's going on, then you can manage it. The fact about it is, our ministers, particularly the finance ministers, they don't have any clue. Their job, they think being the finance minister means they go and do budget. Like all you can hear about, that the only time you can hear Liberian finance minister talk or say something, or they sign a program with the IMF or the Millennium, Challenge. The Millennium Challenge is not going to help you. These are projects. These are things that are specifically geared towards certain industries like power and things like that. They're not going to directly help your economy or help in employment or anything like that. And they are minuscule amount, small amount. Even if they give you $300 million over a 5-year period, you got 5 million people. Your job market is about 1 million. It's not going to do anything for you. the loans are usually there from the IMF for trade and, to support mining balances, imbalances, and things like that. You have to manage your own economy. You got to have, like you said, a reform or have a plan, a strategy on how you're going to grow your economy. And you can't do that if you have idiots. If you got party people, because they wasn't a unity party man, so you take him from there, you make him this. First of all, a lot of the jobs in Liberia in the high level is redundant. Like there's no need for it, but just to accommodate, political figures, you have them there. Look at, let me give you an example. In Liberia, every year, for instance, 2023 and now is about the same or higher, Liberians abroad remittances were $800 million. That's more than the entire government.
That's correct.
So imagine if people abroad were just to reduce that by 25%, people would starve in Liberia. The government will collapse tomorrow.
Yeah, there will be civil war.
There will be civil war. But that's what's funding the economy. And then these fools will sit there and talk about us in America. All right? And talk about people, we are supporting you. We are supporting your pay. Joseph Burger pay, his car, his everything. If that remittance does not go to Liberia, they have no money. Because the little money that they collect from revenue, everything is in debt. Like I just mentioned, you got 55% debt to GDP. So they basically have no money. And even if you look at the same wave, right? When we send money to Liberia, we pay taxes here. We pay taxes there. Then the people who collect the money again, they gouge them again. Then they're stealing from the people, suffering the people, stealing from them, and yet you can't see one progress. Please, let a Unity Party person come on today and tell me what is the economic progress for the last, 12 months.
The Nagbe.
Yes.
They were the funniest thing I have seen in a long time. They summoned the central bank president at the Senate, and they said the rumor is that he's making $49,000 a month.
56.
Yes.
No. He said that's a lie.
Oh, okay.
I don't make that much. So when they say how much you make, then he said this is what I make. So they started marking it down. When he got to it, allowance, he said, but that 7,700, 7,700, that's my allowance. It's not part of my pay. So okay, so marking it down. When they got to it, he was making 56,000. So the guy said, "You sure admit it? Except for your 49,000 and walk out of here." Now we
That's
know
right.
you're making 56,000. This man is saying they accuse him falsely. He doesn't make that much, but actually he was making more. What's wrong with our people? Is this? I think, Mr. Nagbe, there's something intrinsically wrong with acquiring degrees without the corresponding experience, knowledge, practical experience to go along. And you just sit there with tons of degrees on the wall. You have never held even an internship position, but you go there and say, according to my degree, my resume, I'm the most qualified. So they gave you the job, and you have no idea. This man is making $56,000 a month.
A month.
That's more than where the Federal Reserve Chairman
not even close.
Not even close.
The Federal Reserve, the last time I checked, his salary I did like 300 something like that thousand a year. Yeah. Somebody that makes $56,000 a month, you multiply that by 12 months.
Yeah, that's more than $600,000 a year.
That one guy in Liberia.
Yeah, and you were saying here, education, academic is, academic performance is really, and this is why on this side, there is a lot of emphasis in matching theory with practice, because theory is really different from demonstrated practice. Some of these theory, the models, they're good. You can sit down and put a model together, but you have to be able to test it out, because these models, they don't account for unforeseen circumstances. So you put a very beautiful model together, you have to be able to put it out there to test it out. And this is where the experience comes in. And look, some of these people, there's no shame in it. You can go out and get yourself very good advisors, retain them for a little amount, and they will help you, because chances are most of these people, they've been there, done that. The model you're working on, there's a very high probability they've already tested it out and they see how it performs, because the circumstances are not the same. A model that will work here in Colorado, for instance, or California, may not work for Liberia. The circumstances are not the same. So you got to be able to take the performance out of the theory and put it into practice. I think there is a big disconnect there with us. We have a lot of the theory, but in terms of the practice, there's not much there. You know, because the Minister of Finance, for instance, come back to it, it is the Minister of Finance and Development Planning, for Christ's sakes.
Correct.
You don't hear anything about the development part. You hardly do. Just like Alex said, it's all about the budget. That's all you have when you have a Minister of Finance. Budget and whatever. But you don't hear anything more. Yeah, IMF. Yeah. And then the Millennium MCC Challenge. Other than that, you don't hear anything about the Minister of Finance again. Where is the development planning part of it? So we really have a lot of hole to climb out of, and we really need all of the hands on deck, all the good hands. And we all keep saying it here. It's not rocket science. The best brains in Liberia are not necessarily always the UP candidates. You can go outside of the UP and bring in people only because they have the competence and the capacity to do the job. It makes you look good. They can bring you Jerome and do the work. They're not going to give credit to CMC. They will give the credit to this current government. But our guys don't see it that way. Everything must come from within. And that is, so far, it's not serving them well. It's not only this government, previous government, CDC, they all done it. But we have to be willing to go out and get the help necessary. We're not doing that.
The position they're in, I don't even think Garguah can help them right now. When you have this kind of physical irresponsibility, Hughes Jefferson, what anybody gonna tell you? You cannot sustain that.
Alex, you're you're in fight, but again, I harken back to this guy, Daniel P., who is being on spoon and spilling the beans. The kind of things he's talking about, those are damning for any country.
Why would you pay somebody that kind of money?
Exactly. Then you take the president and go, and then you see him going out of the country with so many people. All these people, so it's like the solution for our problem is facing north, and we're going south.
Exactly. Nobody can help you.
Nobody can help you. You got to go and meet the solution, but they're going in two opposite directions. I don't know.
One of our viewers just sent me the number. He said, Mr. Gayman, 56,012, $672,000 a year. That's how much.
There you go. I just left out the six, and they only 50. So that's over $600,000.
$672,000.
That's one person paid.
Yeah, almost $700,000. Well, we got breaking news here. The University of Liberia just put out this. It's a dear student, we regret to announce the suspension of registration tomorrow, August 23, 2025. The university decision to suspend registration is to take precautionary measures relating to the Liberia National Police mandate from the court to evict the CDC from the headquarters. For the safety of students, the university wishes to advise all students to stay off the streets. In the attempt to come on campus, the university remains closed until Tuesday morning, August 26, 2025 at 8 a.m., wishing you success. This is breaking news from the University of Liberia.
I think the president is being proactive. I give her credit for that. We were saying that earlier, right? That we fear this thing could quickly degenerate tomorrow. As Samson was saying here that he heard they must start as early as 5 in the morning. So again, I hope to God, some poor child will not lose their blood or life on this thing tomorrow. I don't think it's worth it, over a rental property. I don't know.
The Liberia National Police have just put out a traffic advisory for tomorrow.
There you go.
The Liberia National Police informed the public that due to enforcement of a court eviction order, traffic will be diverted in Monrovia on Saturday. Vehicles coming from Painesville will be diverted onto Old Road via the Nigerian Highway. Vehicles coming from Central Monrovia town will be diverted onto Old Road via Colondo Junction. All motorists and pedestrians are strongly advised to follow police instruction and cooperate with traffic officers on duty. The Liberia National Police urges everyone to remain calm, peaceful, and law-abiding as we carry out our constitutional duty to service to our republic and the rule of law. Signed, the Liberia National Police. So tomorrow, it looks like they are locking down the entire country, the entire Republic of Monrovia. And this is serious. They are amassing, from what Myean told us here, Masare told us they were amassing forces in front of the CDC headquarters. So tomorrow is going to be, I don't think it's going to be a pleasant sight tomorrow in Liberia. We pray that cooler heads prevail, but this is not how we should handle a situation. I mean, this is an eviction notice. I don't think it warrant the kind of the police.
Yeah, and first of all, why is the police really involved making press releases? This is something to do with the sheriff and the court. Okay? Court evictions are done by the sheriff. Only in extreme situation you'll find police engaged if there is a violence. But this police director is completely useless. It seems to be that the only thing he concerned about, you have a drug problem, okay? You have a problem with traffic, all right? You have a problem in the city with, sanitation and lack of control of anything. And the only thing you focus on is evicting CDC. That's why you gave me press conference. That's not your job. Your job is for you to conduct traffic, crimes, things like that. That's a court matter. That's why you have sheriff in Liberia. Where school these people go to? I really, where do they get their basic education from?
Hey, my man, Gregory went to Cotton. Beg you, take it and I'm a scorpion.
No, they need to be broke. They need to take away some of that degree because
he went to Cotton.
Yeah, Gregory went to Cotton.
Oh Lord,
it's an embarrassment.
But
this has nothing. This has absolutely nothing to do with the police. Eviction is falls under the court, which is an independent branch. The police fall under the executive branch. There's no been no violence. There's been nothing. Why is he coming over a press conference? I mean, the guy just made a complete disaster.
Shutting down the entire Monrovia.
In other words, you worry about you having economic problems already, right? You don't have investor. You don't have money. All right. Then you're creating more tension in the country. How dumb can I be? Even if the court order, they execute the court order, or they say, you know what, let things ease out and let the parties go to mediation and something. Why are you making big issue? It tells you that they have absolutely nothing. And these are the people that were screaming 2-3 years ago, oh, we're more educated, oh, we're better. Look what a disaster he's been. A public relations embarrassment. This guy is the worst police director I've ever seen in Liberia. I mean, he liked the fanfare, Liberia has real issues. They have serious economic problem, social problem. And you're worrying about everything is politics. That's not what police should be. Even the police needs to be reformed. The whole system is so bad. Instead of coming like you just talked about, if you want country to deal with you, you got to carry on reforms that will show them that you're going in the right direction. But basically, it's a police state. To walk around with armed men in police uniform, police riot gear, That's what Liberia has turned into. A basically martial law police state. The president can do whatever he wants, and I will get on that one. You can ban wherever you want ban. President, you don't make laws. You can't ban hookah. Hookah is not an illicit substance. You're damaging your tourism industry. You're damaging people's jobs. So if somebody was investing in that, then now you ban it. It's not the president don't make laws. You only enforce the laws on the book. And as far as I'm concerned, right now, it's not an illicit drug.
Mr. Nagbe.
The people are just plain stupid, basically. Who's the legal advisor to Barker?
Yesterday we talked about they were going into the ghetto and just rounding people up.
And breaking homes down.
Breaking homes down and just taking them to, they said they took them to, they had nowhere to take them, so they took them to the stadium until they can find someone to take them. There's no plan, there's no policy, there's no warrant. You don't have any warrant. They just scoop up all these people. Some of these folks, from what I understand, they were anybody that were in that area, the vicinity, they grab all of them, whether you were with substance. And you saw the former deputy DEA came here and said that there's some kind of there's some kind of policy or process to this, depending on the quantity of drug that you had in your possession. Most of these people should not even be arrested because I think less than if you
are final offense. You can't like arresting somebody for smoking a joint. You got to focus on the border protection. You got to focus on rehabilitation. You got to make investment. You got to create jobs so people have jobs. You break somebody's property, the country is already destroyed. You don't have infrastructure, and then the little infrastructure that you got there, where people can shelter and people can live there, you go in and break it down. How irresponsible! But let me just stick on the economic here for a second. I have a breaking news, and Botswana just signed a $12 billion investment with Qatar. Okay, Botswana President Doma Boka announced on Thursday an agreement with Qatar. Masur Holding amidst him at addressing immediate national challenges with the Gulf frame. $12 billion in investment in the various economic sectors. Has the Liberian president even gotten $1 million, investment company to come and say, I'm going to invest $1 million in Liberia? You're talking about $12 billion. Okay? This guy just became president, I think, last year or so.
Yeah. And one of our colleagues wrote in the chat room that Botswana is only 59 years old, which is
Botswana has always been up there. I think
just around
I saw that as there, but the experience age of Joseph Boyka is just about the year he been in government, 50 years, and this man is 50. But when I told you what the gentleman from the embassy told me, I won't tell which embassy. He is in charge of foreign investment in Liberia. And we were at lunch at the Royal Hotel. And I asked him, I said, what is it that you are recommending? How does it work? He says, I've been in Liberia 3 years. And I don't know how long I'm going to be here. He said, but I have told every company that wanted to, that inquired from me about Liberia, I told them zero. Liberia gets zero. He says the country is, very high risk. So he tells them if you want to go outside of the regular format, you can do so at your own risk. So when I saw this Chinese guy and Dukley bringing, he said $4.6 million outside of the National Investment Commission and the whole 9 yards to come and do business with Dukley, and then finally Dukley try to have him deported. It reminded me of what the guy was saying. The risk is so high that if you want to do it, you got to do it at your own risk, and your chances of success is almost zero. So what this Chinese guy did and what Dukley did to him, based on all the evidence we have looked at, that's exactly, you see, when these people in the foreign country do their assessment and they come out and say these things about us, sometimes we get upset. And we say, oh, because we are a black country, they do this. But for that man to have been, this guy told me this in February when I was there. And to see this Chinese man not only spend his 4.6 million, but blooded, beat him.
Beat him up, yeah.
To be beaten, then call the police and the DEA to deport the man the same day. How can one man have that much power?
Yeah.
I mean, Mr. Jones, I don't know, but I have never seen it this bad. That individuals go out and bring corporations on their own property and say, come here, invest.
And you may think you're getting away with it, but it really
Yes.
leave a blemish in the country's, image. Because these people, bad news spread real like wildfire.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When last you heard anything about, protesting what you call what's the country name? Botswana.
Botswana, yeah.
Everything that is positive. Yes, it has some economic challenges and so forth, but the leaders are responsible. They are dealing with the root problems. Whereas our own leader, that CDC fought, or that opposition fought, what plan has been put on? They talk about agriculture, all the noise they make, sell up a whole committee spend money. Where the agriculture thing is now? Everything will bug out that committee. Everything will bug out. We'll set up a committee. We'll look into that. What the solution you have in the last 50 years ago? I can tell you, I have put together proposals on solutions, reform in every sector in Liberia. And I'm not even been in government yet. How long does it take you? Boga is just a dull man. He just, some people don't have the acumen. Let's just be real here.
So what happened to 287 yellow machines for agriculture?
Exactly. Now we have to pay that money. That's a loan. That when I just talk about the debt, 2.5 billion.
I thought it was a gentleman's agreement that was not supposed to cost us anything.
No. They end up going and paying, I think, $30 million, negotiating the $30 million. That's a loan Liberia has to take. We just made somebody rich. And where the rules and what they're doing with it, where the agricultural product, we stay importing onions and tomatoes. All right, and pepper.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, today is Friday. And it's 7:40, guys. I have to give you a break. At least today's Friday, so you can go home, spend some time with your family, and go drink your Dom Perignon. Those are you guys who are upper class. You make.
Let me tell you, I saw the
57,000. No, you were making 49,000. You argue until it came out to 56,000.
I saw him flash a cigar coming on. I think he wants it. I saw your cigar fly.
Oh yeah, I don't normally do that, but today I will make an exception because of the idea of banning hookah in Liberia. And if I'm in Liberia, I'm gonna buy my hookah or my cigar and let them come and arrest me. So I'm gonna let my cigar up and I'm gonna smoke it right here. And because that's a stupid law, all right. And we need serious people in our country. We need people in our
Mr. Nagbe, they're not going after the drug importers. They are not going after the big guys who are benefiting. They are going after the victims.
Yeah.
The people who are the victims.
Who are the victims? Yeah.
Like I said, I'm more concerned you're not providing jobs for people. People are trying to do their little businesses, okay? They're opening a little shop. They're opening a little, struggling. Liberians are struggling, resilient people. And you got an idiot government making it more difficult for them every day. Do you know Cuba? What Cuba GDP is? Over 120 billion. You know what one of the primary export? Cigars, tobacco, cigars. Okay? We have all the land there. Everybody got a preference. Some people drink kinju, some people drink, wherever. It's not illegal.
No.
You know what I'm saying? We have this ability here in Liberia.
How do you call it? Shisha? The thing he banned?
Shisha over here. They call it hookah. They call it hookah over here. But by they call it shisha.
Shisha. Okay.
And we got all this, where Gongloe and all these people there. It's a violation. It's an abuse of power. If the president cannot make laws, So he doesn't have the right to ban anybody a hookah lounge or tell people you can smoke in your private house or whatever. It's not
I think
illegal.
it's not overreach.
But do
It
they have
is.
do they have
And we
the
got all the
manpower
lawyers
to
there.
enforce
The thing about it,
the ban? Do they
yes,
have
and
the
in the newspaper,
manpower?
I saw the thing.
Do they have the
Then
man? Do they have
in
the
your room.
manpower? Do they have
No,
the
they-
manpower to go from house to house, from shop to shop? Do they have the manpower over
It's
the whole
illegal.
country?
They don't, Jerome. And that's the point that the former speaker is making, that prohibition has never worked. If you watch the movie Boardwalk Empire on HBO,
Yeah.
that's because these things will go underground and they will even thrive more. They will make more profit out of it.
Yeah.
But it's you can suggest, you can make recommendations, you can you can educate the citizenry, and people should be left to make their own life
That
decisions.
one's yours. That
Yeah.
one's yours. Like I said,
Yeah.
what does that have to do with the economy? What does that have to do with you becoming a productive citizen? What does that have to do? Stop banning. And these are the things that you create dictators. Because first of all, they are reading from front page. Shisha is banned in all public and private venues, including bars, clubs, and private homes. What kind of stupidity is that? That's the people's business and their choice. You don't have no right as a president to tell somebody what they can do that is within the parameters of the law. Screw that. Go smoke your hookah. Don't listen to that nonsense. They don't have any legal rights. Only the Liberian legislator can pass law. When they make it an illegal substance, then the president can say that you can order a directive. Yeah, why are our lawyers? Where are Jerome and all these people there? They should know this common thing. Where Gongloe there? When time to run for president, you see all of them. But then whenever it comes to defending the Liberian people, their rights, then everybody's scared. Walker doesn't have a right to make any laws. He cannot make a law to tell people what to do and what not to do. Screw him, okay?
The enforcement part, that's what I'm talking. How do you go from house to house to arrest or confiscate hookah? I'll let you do your closing so we can get out of here and go spend some time.
Like I said, it was very good, good show today. I mean, I don't get a chance to talk on the economic, lack of progress in Liberia, but you asked some very good questions tonight, and I hope it educated Liberian people. I can
Come back, man. Let's do that at least once a week.
Yeah, let's do it on Friday, because the fact is, look, I'm very happy and comfortable where I am in my profession and my life. Being president is not something like anybody's entitled to. I'm only concerned about how the young generation will get jobs and opportunity for tomorrow. And the time and effort is being wasted by Joseph Boakai. And that's why you see me so passionate about it. And I will not stop because he doesn't have anything to lose. But you today, you got 5 years to lose of their life. You have no education. You have no job, even if you graduate from school. Everybody won't go to school in Liberia. The ones who graduated 3 years ago, do they even have jobs? One of my friends, girl, graduated from Cottington in nursing, can't find a job. So it's only because we have a weak, incapable, incompetent, delusional president, Joseph Boakai. He's the worst thing that ever happened to Liberia. And I hope that the Liberian people realize that soon and get in the street and demonstrate for his coming down, or they will have a very, very poor future in a wreck economy. Take it from me. But a year from now, if this old man is not all of that place, this is just the beginning of the collapse that's going to happen in Liberia that might perhaps even any civil war. So that's my closing comment. Thank you for having me, and I'm going to enjoy the rest of my cigar.
Yeah, Mr. Nagbe, your closing.
Thank you, Mr. Gayman, and thank you, Mr. Jones. It's been pretty nice being with you tonight. Thank you very much for the added value to the discussion. And let me thank our audience tonight as well for joining us. And I'll keep it brief. Right now, we are really in the bad place. I mean, it's been indicated here over and over. I think the country is in a very bad place. All of the indicators are that we're going downhill, and yet our policymakers, they don't seem to be paying attention. I am still surprised that the president, in the midst of all of this, in this age where most of these meetings can be attended virtually. You know, you can virtually log on to your computer and make an appearance, and yet, you know, we're taking that many people to a conference. It's a lot of money that we're spending on these things that we don't have. So, you know, I hope you know, we will come to our reality and rein in, you know, this spending. Finally, I hope tomorrow, which is almost today now in Liberia, I hope this thing will not result to loss of blood or loss of life, even between the Liberia National Police and the CDC. I just hope that our opposition brothers will just please not sacrifice any young life for this thing. I think if the people want them to vacate their premises, they already have a place on 9th Street. I think they should just go there and forget this thing. But that'll be my closing. Thank you very much for the show.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. May God bless you. Drive safely. Spend time with the family. A day lost can never be regained. Spend time with those you love. Let's do this again next week. Hopefully Friday, Mr. Jones will be back.
I will be back next.
Thank you very much, guys. See you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good weekend. Yeah.